I am here with Kareen Kinsley Larson with the Kinsley team at Remax Alliance in Fort Collins, Colorado. Hi, Kareen.
Hello, good morning. It's morning in Colorado. I suppose it's whatever time that you're listening, but it's a gorgeous morning in Colorado.
Well, so we decided, we were chatting about, I think the podcast, the Real Estate Fight Club podcast. And we were like, we should do our own podcast about women leaders because, and I do want you to share your story and how you're in real estate. But women are, especially our generation of women, right? Women, I would say age like 30-ish to 50-ish that are leaders. We, I think, are unique in our leadership style and our journey to leadership. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And I think we're forging our own path all the time as we discover our authenticity as women in business.
Yes, because, and that was something where we were like, hey, we should do a podcast about, and it might change names or whatever, but it's basically like leading as a woman, right?
And when you said that, I said, yes, 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 yes.
Yes. So tell us your background, how you got into real estate, and kind of along the way, what you're dealing with and where you're at now.
Yeah, well, I was pretty much born into real estate. Both of my parents are realtors. So I think probably.
So sorry. Are we apologizing here? Or is that good? I can't decide.
No, I mean, literally, I was a kid in the 80s where, my dad had the giant brick cell phone but we answered business calls at home. I lived at the office as a little kid. I helped everybody with their flyers and I'd run around neighborhoods and pass out things. Like I drank the real estate Kool-Aid very early on.
Perfect.
And I've been super fortunate to work with my dad. He's only started to slow down and pretty much retire recently. But for the greater part of 20 years of my career, my dad was my mentor. And he's a fiercely independent guy. He's incredibly old school, from door knocking to handshakes to face. And that is the business that I learned. But he had a different life in real estate. He was very goal-oriented, I have to be the top salesman all the time. And that was very much ingrained in me, that competitiveness. But at the same time, he had my mom, who was primarily his assistant, who drove us around and, was in charge of daily life at home. And so when I got into the business, of course, you just want to be gung-ho, the best at what you do. But at the same time, I wanted kids. I have two amazing kids. They're almost grown now. They're 19 and 15. In fact, the day my daughter was born, she was born at the last Friday in July, and I missed 3 closings. So,
well,
I know. And then I
them. Yeah.
But I also wanted to be a mom and be a good mom.
Right.
And have the family life I wanted and be involved in my kids' lives and their school lives and their community.
Well, and I felt like we were told, like, you have to pick one or the other, right? And there's so many women of our generation that's like, there's some of us that picked, right? So I picked. And then there's some of us that were like, I'm going to do both. And that's you,
And that came with a lot of heartache. That was tough because no matter if you're succeeding in one area, you feel like you're failing in another.
Yeah.
And there are times that I just killed it in real estate and had appointments and busy days. And I got to 9:00 at night when my kids were in bed, and I sat down on the couch and I sobbed because I felt like I wasn't being a good mother. And so I have struggled with this balance.
But it's all because the perception was, I have to lead like men lead. And some men, and I think that's also changing, right? But how men of the 80s led. That's really a better, more clarifier. And it was like that grinding, that like they did everything for the business. They kind of ignored the house, like, right?
Yeah. And, I mean, if you listen to real estate leaders and podcasts, I mean, there still is a lot of that all the time. And for me, when I first started in my career, I really felt like I had to operate as the male version of myself. And I mean, you can call those gender traits whatever you want and be fluid about it. But I felt like I had to be a super tough negotiator. I felt like I had to keep my personal life very separate. It was all business. It was the grind all the time. Mm-hmm. And it took me a really long time to realize like that's not living authentically with who I am and my greatest traits as a business person, as a human. And it's when I really started tapping into my traits, what makes me human, what makes me Kareen, which is empathy, making it personal. Like it's personal. Like when I have
it's their house.
It's their house, it's their life, it's their dreams, it's their tragedies. A lot, a lot of what we do, we catch people in transition, and transitions come with a tremendous amount of emotion. And when I really started to just be myself and talk about my life as a wife and mother and the struggles, and furthermore, when I started opening up and sharing that with other people in the business, and whether it's funny or whether somebody's kids were in the background and I told a funny story, or just let them be, it's okay. It's okay that you're in the background sometimes.
Because you have kids. Like this is your life.
24/7, or just listen to a newer agent that's having a hard time. When I started being true to myself, I started having significantly more success than I ever did before. And not so much that, like, yes, the transactions, all of that was successful, but it became really fulfilling for me. I really believed in what I was doing.
But that's how it always is, right? It's like the second, like, and it took us, I mean, for me at least, and it sounds like for you too, it took a long time to get there. It's like we were in leadership roles and it was like, okay, this is how you lead and this is what you do. And we knew that like something's wrong, like something doesn't feel right. And it's once you start moving in your world more authentically, the whole world opens up, right? And you start attracting people that are more like-minded, which is a better business for you. It's a better transaction for them. Like everything just becomes better. I think actually I landed on the name for our podcast.
Okay.
Lead like a woman.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it because it's different, and that is okay. It is okay that everybody is different and we all bring unique authenticities to what we do, which globally makes it better. And I think what we've learned in leadership in the past decade is there is not one way. Right. And the most important is to lead with humanity first.
Yes.
And, growing up, I didn't have examples of a woman who was leading authentically.
Well, I think that's also because like the way that our world was growing up, because the women were thought that you had to choose between work and family. Many women chose family. And so you had this large gap where there were no real women in leadership. And the ones that were in leadership were the ones that chose not to have a family. And they were the ones that were also knew this one way to lead. And so they were very like, quote unquote, masculine. Now we're talking from a perception of growing up in the 80s, right? So like people have to understand that as they're listening, And so those women were unobtainable, I would say, and felt more of a competition rather than more of a collaborative world that we live in now.
Yes. Yes. It's like the lone wolf idea of I have to figure this out by myself. And if I have figured it out, then I am not helping anybody else.
Right. Because it was hard,
It was
and
really
they gave up a lot to get there. And so because many women chose to have a family instead, you have this large gap in work life. And so once that women entered back into the workforce, it would be impossible to enter back in at the top. You have
Yeah.
you haven't had a work history. Do you know what I mean?
And you give up so much. And this was my struggle is I had this fierce, I want to be a professional woman. Like it's ridiculous. But if I was 10 and you asked me what I wanted to do, I wanted to be a CEO. Like that's just what I wanted to do. But I also wanted to have a family. And so the guilt of if I am working and being successful, the guilt of why am I not okay just staying home and being with my family.
Right.
For me, that was not okay. And I struggled with that for a really, really long time. And it wasn't until recently that I've really come to terms with the fact that for me personally, I'm so glad I did, because seeing my daughter and her beliefs and her generation and her friends and what they talk about and what they think that they can accomplish and do, I feel I'll be a little selfish here. I feel like I had a role in that, being an example for her. And that is one of the things I am most proud of. Is all along I thought I was taking away from her, but I wasn't. I was giving to her, showing that I am a strong person, I am a good business person, and I'm a good mom. Right. And sometimes I'm not available all the time.
Right. But that doesn't mean, that's not the definition of a good mom, right? So like along the way I think the first lesson it sounds like you learned is like, you can have it all, right? And I think as women, like we tend to give up things that are true to us, even if we're not asked, even if it's not a request, we just automatically give it up. And it's like, why? You don't have to give it up, right?
And so and it's hard. Like I have never found that balance ever. And that's the struggle with our generation is we were really on the forefront of women making significant contributions to the business world. I mean, of course, we have had many, many predecessors that have led the way and fought a very good fight for us to be where we are today. And I think it's our responsibility to take it to the next level for the next generation and help people along the way to, share freely what we have learned in our careers. But we were taught we can have it all, but you can't really. I think you had said in a podcast one time, or maybe it was when we were on the phone, it's just, it's where your priorities are.
Right.
And so I think
there's no balance is what I said.
That's what you said. There's no balance. It's where your priorities are. And I've thought about that since you said it of, you're never going to get everything done in the day. You're never going to get your checklist check lot, especially in this business. There's always somebody to call or something to see or something to learn or another designation to get or whatever. But you have to be rock solid about your priorities. And for me, it was real estate and my family, period. I didn't leave much else for that. And did I sacrifice? Maybe, sure. I don't know. I think there's just seasons in life. And for example, I didn't start getting involved at my local board of realtors until recently because it was real estate and family, period.
That was it. Real estate sales, and family, and that's it.
Yeah. Sales, and we've built a team. And I think we talked about this before, is we just tend to bring a different element to business. And I think what I've really learned and what I'm most proud of is being collaborative.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't want to be a figurehead. I wanted to be a team where every person had equal input and equal value and felt that 100% of the time.
I mean, I think we're going to disagree on equal, but like, I'm just saying, like, there always is somebody that's like in charge of the whatever, right? And like, sure. I would say the input matters, but it doesn't mean that it carries equal weight, in my opinion. Like, because we have a team now, and the way that we divide up our duties, like, for example, my business partner, he's in charge of all the sphere and past clients and all that stuff. So he'll say, like, this is what we're going to do. And I'll be like, well, you know me, I'll be like, that's dumb. I don't agree. This is what we should do, right? And we'll talk about it, and he'll be like, it's not dumb, and here's why. And we'll talk about it, and then we might change a few things. But ultimately, if we disagree, he gets to decide. But it's the same with like the lead generation and the cold calling. Like, I'm in charge of that. So like, I think that while his input is important on how I do it, because he might have some ideas, and I think that's the collaboration piece that you're sharing, he might have some ideas that could benefit the overall project and getting to the goal. If we disagree, I'm the one that decides that. So I don't know if that's
sure. Well, I think we each have our wheelhouse. And when I look at the people I want to surround myself in real estate, I want them to have very different skill sets than I do.
Yes.
And we each have our wheelhouse. We each trust each other. But, I want the team to get credit. I want everybody to feel like they have contributed, because without any one of them, our real estate team ship does not sail.
Which is so interesting that you're saying that, because this is reminding me of a podcast that we did on what should you name your team. And for the longest time, the team is named after the person who's the figurehead, right? As you described it.
I know. And our team name came from my dad.
Yeah. And at least it's the last name of him and not his first name, right? The Kinsley team.
Right.
But so many people name it their full name, like the whatever, the John Smith team. And it's like, when I got and started the business, I was like, I don't want it to be my name, because exactly what you're saying, like, this is a collaboration. It's not me. And that's one other way that I think women, at least our generation, that we lead differently, exactly to what you're saying. Like, we are more collaborative. And it's like, okay, this is called team synergy, because we work together and we also work with our clients. Like, we are all a team, and everybody has ideas. And I don't think I have the most and the best ideas 100% of the time. I mean, because my personality, I think it's like 90%.
Why do you think that was? Why do you think innately that didn't feel right to you?
Because I work better in a team. And I think the team is more heads are better than one in general.
Sorry, my phone.
Oh, that's fine. Not always, but I think like in general, with a small group of carefully selected people, our brains collaboratively are better than mine alone.
Hey guys, it's Monica here. I am so excited to introduce you to Real Estate Fight Club's newest partnership, CyberBacker. CyberBacker is the best in the business for virtual assistants. How do I know this? Because I am a CyberBacker customer and I love this company. I have my favorite, Frances. She is my CyberBacker, been with me for over a year. She's amazing. She makes me better. She's eager to help. She's on time. She's disciplined. She's awesome. And this company, CyberBacker, has figured out the system. From the interviewing process to find out what I need, to the interviewing process to interview several CyberBackers, to the onboarding process, to the training process, very buttoned up, very awesome. You and I both know it's time for you to leverage. It's time for you to take that step, and CyberBacker is a really safe, awesome solution. Make sure to mention Fight Club and you will be getting a free gift. All right, do it. Make the call. See ya.
I totally agree. And I think a lot of leaders would agree with you too. And maybe I have a little axe to grind. I mean, one of my favorite singers is Dolly Parton. Mm-hmm. And when I need to like pick myself up and feel like a,
badass,
I listen to 9 to 5 and I just get myself going about.
Can you sing some for us?
No, you do not want me to sing. I can lip sync with the best of them, but you do not want me to sing. But I mean, for me, I wanted to make a point that everyone got credit, because in our past, everyone does not get credit, and that was not okay with me.
But it's also in our industry, in real estate. I work in a couple of different states. One of my states allows us to list property and sell property as a team name. One of my states requires a person. And it's like, our industry needs to change. Are you guys allowed to list as a team, or do you have to do a person?
We do it separately. It was a little more complicated. I think if I push the issue, I could probably figure that out, but we do it individually. And there's just 2 of us at this point.
But then it also leads to, this might be a little bit off topic and more like real estate related, but then it also leads to like, what other changes need to happen to support this, right? So then I think, okay, well, if we're now able to list and sell as a team, that makes sense to me. The money goes into this coffer, right? But if I'm collaborating with you, some of my greatest friends are not in my brokerage.
True. That's true.
So why can't I collaborate with you? And this is a law, right? Like, there's laws that are like liability laws and, insurance laws and all this stuff. But it's like, yeah, but what's really better for the client? Like, what is really better for the client? What's really better is that we are both potentially, like, I'm only going to partner with you if it makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That we're both pushing it. I don't know, like, it's crazy the rippling effect that it can have.
Well, and one thing I want to touch on as we go through this, I mean, maybe this is its own separate topic, is confidence. Women and our confidence in what we do, whether we have it or not, and how different topic of how that is perceived. But I do think that
is a good topic. That's a
I do think that because I don't have that, of course I can handle this, of course I can do this, of course I'll figure it out, I tend to collaborate more. I tend to bring other people in on transactions. I co-list a lot. We have a commercial agent who is just a rock star that I love, that we co-list anything commercial related with. Because
are they at your brokerage?
She is, yeah. Yeah, she's within our brokerage. And I think here we probably can, because you can have a co-listing agent. I have seen in our MLS where you can have a co-listing agent with somebody from a totally different brokerage.
Okay. So I think it just depends on the rules, right? But you're right. So I think the focus of this one is we wanted to share how we came up with this idea. And really we're documenting our journey as women leaders. And I think the first lesson is authenticity. Mm-hmm. But how do you, like, for me, I know that I am not living in authenticity when something feels weird. Like, maybe I can't like exactly put my finger on it, but I'm like, it's not working. Like, it should move a little bit flowier and freer, and something's not working. How do you tell when you're not living authentically?
Oh, it's just a visceral gut reaction from the get-go. I am such that I can't do anything Now, maybe it's taken me a long time to get here, but I can't do anything now that's
Now,
not.
yeah, but if we think about the journey, like when I think about my journey, it's like knowing people like you who are either in a same place or like can see outside of what I can see and can be like, hey, what you're doing doesn't make sense, or like ask questions or whatever.
Yeah,
How did
and
you?
I think, what guides me always is I am fiercely in this business a representative of always do what is best for the buyer and the seller. It is not about us. We need to get out of the way and help people without inserting ourselves into the transaction.
Yes,
Uh,
please.
but for me, it is just a gut, like, can't sleep at night, bother me. It is, and I just can't live like that even for 5 minutes.
What are the beliefs that you have that allow you to pay attention to that? What are the underlying beliefs?
I think for me, it's always practicing with morality and integrity, unwavering, which can be hard to do in this business. And it's hard to do when it's struggling. But this business is ripe for ethical questions all the time. And
But
you
we have a code of ethics, Kareen.
What's that?
We have the code of ethics.
Of course we do. And we should read it weekly along with your contract. Read your contract. Know your contract. But I mean, I think for me, it is always doing the right thing. Moral compass firmly pointed north. Always. And that means blowing up deals. That means this is not the right situation because, you talk about this. Our business is changing to one where if we're going to add value, we have to be an advisor.
Yeah.
And if we're going to be an advisor, that comes with a very strong ethical standard for ourselves of, is this a good choice for you? Is this the right move or not? And if it's something of like, you really want to buy that back into the highway, okay. I almost like sign this paper that Kareen said that this will be a problem on resale. It's just honesty and integrity. And
but there is that line of like not pushing your own agenda on top of their agenda, right? Like there is still that line.
Yeah. And when I listen to things in real estate, motivational speakers, podcasts, and the like, a lot of it is about heavy production, lead generation, more, whether
it's not always better.
It's not always better, but I would like to hear more about quality of what we do. Mm-hmm. Practicing our business with integrity, really cultivating a positive client experience for us, and a positive experience with the other brokers. That would be a lovely topic down the road.
Lovely topic.
How do we, and I think we as women do a great job with that because we're just social by nature. We want people to be collaborative, and I've gotten deals together, no doubt, because the other realtor on the other side of the transaction, like we are on the same team.
Working together. Yeah, you're on the
same team. Yes. Always working together.
To help the buyer and seller get what they want.
Absolutely. Now, is that a female trait? Is that just me? I don't know. But I would venture that a lot of what you have experienced in the world and a lot of what I have experienced in the world, there is no doubt women in real estate across the country are experiencing the same thing. And I want to talk about it. And I want to support women more than anything. We're faced with a different set of challenges because we're the ones who are, generally speaking, the caregivers of the world, whether that's in community, whether that's in our own families, whether that's to our parents, whether that's to our neighbors. Like, we are the caregivers, and it's a challenge to do both.
Mm-hmm. It can be, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and it's how do you do that? And people do it in their own way. And what does it have to look like? And how is that compared to how you thought it would look like, right? Like exactly what you're saying. I thought that success, I mean, this was up until 4 years ago. I thought that success was exactly what you're saying. Do more, more, have a big team, have this big ego, blah, la, 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 la. Like you are the boss, like all this stuff. And I'm doing it. I'm like, fuck, this is
So
not.
what was that for you? Like, what told you that this is not my path?
For me, I have an underlying belief that I can do anything. It's actually probably too far, you know, like my mom did that to me. But like, I truly believe like I can do and have whatever I want. And I was like, this.
That's a gift that a lot of women don't have. So don't underestimate that gift.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely take it a little far, but that's okay. I don't mind. It's kind of fun. That keeps life interesting. But I just realized that it was really hard to get to where I wanted to go. And I also believe that I don't want life to be that hard. Like I want to have fun. I want to live my best life ever. Like for me, I actually thought I would be dead by 40, not like in a creepy way, but like even my mom used to say like when I was little that like I just thought I would be dead. And so when I turned 40, I was like, oh shit, I'm alive. And
no one, when you're young, thinks of what your life will be after 40. Like,
yeah, okay.
Like, did you ever think, oh, what am I going to do in my 50s? Like, no, even when I was young and had little kids, I never thought, what am I going to do when I'm an empty nester? So you get to this point and you have to look at yourself and say, what do I do now?
What am I going to do? Yeah. And so then it was like, okay, well, I mean, working like crazy and leading hard is hard on me. Mm-hmm. And so I had to really look at my leadership style. And I think at that time I had been through maybe 8 or 10 assistants in like one after the other. And I'm like, I'm a jerk, but like, I'm not really a jerk. So like, why am I being a jerk? You know what I mean? And it's like, who am I really? And so I had to figure that out. Like, who am I really? And that's like something still that I'm, shaping, because like for me I feel like I'm at like a next level of who do I want to be, but part of that was getting more in touch with, I will call it my feminine side, for lack of a better term, of like I do care about people. And that was like one of my gifts, like in getting buyers and sellers, is I actually gave a shit about my client, whether they were a luxury client or they were a tenant. Mm-hmm. Like I really cared equally because I care about people. And it's like, okay, well, if I care about the clients, can I care about my team? It's like, oh, I can care about a team. Okay. And like just transitioning into that whole world. And then all of a sudden the business became a lot easier. It became a ton more fun. And here we are today. Like, what's the next level?
Here we are today. And I think, in listening to that, I think a great topic would be of sometimes the demands of this business doesn't make you your best self. And figuring out ways to reframe, maybe you want to talk to my family, but there's sometimes that I'm better than
we're gonna have
others. And, I mean, the God's honest truth is they get the brunt of my stress sometimes, like a lot of the time. But
yeah, normal, unacceptable, but also normal, right?
Sure. And same with your assistant, right? Of maybe when the demands of this business are too much for any sane person to handle, of strategies of, the collective of what is the best way to reframe yourself, to bring back your humanity into the conversation.
Exactly. I love it.
I'm so excited for what we're going to talk about. And I just want to give women out there busting their butts a big hug and a cheer from the sidelines to say, this business, truly the sky is the limit, but you have to do that staying true to yourself and your values.
Yep. Step one, who the hell are you?
Who are you? And sometimes that's hard to figure out.
It is, because if you've been masquerading as somebody you ought to, or you thought you should be, you have to untangle those 40 years or, whatever of thinking who are you supposed to be? Who should you be versus who are you? It could be a big difference.
Honestly, I've spent a lot of time thinking of that lately, is how much of the striving and the weight that I put on myself to have this great family life and this home that's for entertaining and,
it's like everything has to be perfect.
Everything has to be perfect. Oh, stop it. Stop it. It does not have to be perfect to be good.
Nothing's perfect. What is perfect?
Perfect
according to who?
But the quest for that, where does that come from? And as we look at, it's changed a lot. And we mentioned this, previously. I really hope there's a brighter light for the next generation coming on.
Yeah.
I think some things are going to change in a very, very positive way that I'm excited about for our next generation. But we've just had these social ideals and ideals of beauty and business and women. We take it all in and feel like in every area of our life, we have to be the very best version of ourselves. That, we compare ourselves to the best real estate brokers, the best Friday night entertainers, the best soccer moms. And we feel like we have to do it all. And we're competitive with each other. And that has got to stop. And that's a whole.
If you're a collaborative person, if you're collaborative, then it makes sense to be collaborative, right? So if you're collaborative, but you're the best at being the soccer mom, and there's somebody else that's the best at being, the best, whatever. When you collaborate, then you guys together are the best.
True. That's true.
So it's about putting your team together, as you had mentioned in the beginning, putting your team together of people that have different strengths so that together you are a whole. And I think that as women, we have a unique ability to deal with that, because if we can lead with our heart, lead how we feel, and also use our brain, the fact that we can tap into that is an asset.
And how awesome is it that we are going to change how business is done?
Yeah.
And that is profound.
Everybody. Well, and plus what we're finding is there are some men who prefer also a different leadership style. And we get to be the ones that are saying, okay, everybody needs to lead authentically, whatever that is for you. Doesn't matter. There's
women don't get all the credit.
Huh?
We can't take all the credit. You're absolutely right. Much as I'd like to, but I can't.
Right, exactly. Well, Kareen, if people want to get a hold of you, or if they have a referral for you in Colorado, what is the best way?
Yeah, our office number is 970-568-3600. Call our office. We'd love to help you out.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you. This is so exciting. And I'm so excited about the future of this. And I just want to make sure that every person listening to this does not feel alone in their struggles.
Yeah, you're definitely not alone. All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye, Jennifer.
Hi, guys. Monica Weekly here. You know how you're supposed to post about real estate every single day on Facebook? Yes, you do. And the reason is, if we don't remind our Facebook friends what we do for a living and how we help people, they will forget about it. We know it's our job to inform, educate, and demonstrate what we do for a living. Well, I'm coaching agents all around the country, and they understand that, but they're not doing it. And I ask them, why aren't you doing it? Probably just like you. And they said, Monica, we don't know what to post. Can we just borrow your stuff? Because I love creating Facebook posts. And these can often be used over on Instagram as well. So I said yes, and people were borrowing my stuff. So I created finally a product that you can sign up for free. It is free, guys. There is no reason for you not to sign up for this. It's GhostPostr.com, GhostPostr, no E in there, just TR.com. And what you're going to get is you're going to get a Facebook posting idea to your email every single day. So not only do you have this great idea, but you've been reminded, oh yeah, I need to post. And that's Monday through Friday. And if you don't love the post or you think, gosh, I'd like something else, well, you're also going to get access to a library of over 600 different posts for you to choose from by category. You're going to love it. Go sign up, GhostPostr.com. Don't waste a minute. And then be sure to join the private Facebook group. All right, I'll see you in there.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a podcast.